a brain training practice to bring your mind back into the moment. And there's different ways that parents can help children with it. You can do mindful breathing. Some kids like that internal with the breath, and other kids, it makes them feel more anxious or stressed focusing on the breath. So it does depend on each individual child. One that's quite handy for the breath is, no, this won't be on video, but a hand breathing, which is, so when you have your hand open, I'm trying to think if you start with your hand open or closed. I think it's your hand open, and breathing in with your hand open, and then breathing out with it closed, and then breathing in with your hand open. And you can do it either way. You can start with your hand closed and then breathe in to open, vice versa. It depends on the person how they feel. Some people feel comfortable doing it, starting with their hand closed or the hand open, but taking three to five breaths with your hand open and closing as you breathe is a nice visual and tactile breathing activity.
Hi, Conscious Parents. It's Carrie here, and I am here with a little info about raising our mindful kids. I've got some tips and tricks about breaking free of the box and becoming who you are and teaching your kids how to do that along the way. Join us. Hi there and welcome back. It's your friendly conscious mama here, Carrie, and I'm so excited. I have a guest who has returned to us from our Thanksgiving episode, Natasha, here today. And Natasha, she has a company called Butterfly Minds. Natasha, thanks so much for being here, and we have to talk about Butterfly Minds.
Thank you for having me. It's nice to be back.
Yeah, I love the name Butterfly Minds. I think I was chatting with you earlier today, actually, was posting on your Instagram that I love that name because I use the term monkey minds with my kids. What made you think of Butterfly Minds?
My favourite insect has always been butterflies. And then when I first did my mindfulness training for kids, the creative mindfulness method, that was back in 2020 during lockdown. I decided to start training in mindfulness. I knew about mindfulness before, but that's when I started my full teaching mindfulness journey. And a lot of the time, the teacher would speak about the two different wings of mindfulness, like a bird. So the mindfulness of awareness on being one side, and then the other side being compassion and kindness. Because a lot of time for mindfulness, it's focused on you're bringing your attention to the moment, but there's not so much spoken about when your thoughts come up to be kind towards yourself. It's the non-judgment part is sometimes missed out, or it's not as known about when people are starting a mindfulness practice, like listening to audios and things. So I had that in the back of my mind. So when I was thinking of a name, I thought, butterflies, they symbolize like transformation and change. So I wanted my business to be that people would feel like they're changing from feeling stressed and having busy minds to transform like a butterfly to be less busy and calm with the being kinder and compassionate towards themselves. And the butterflies always, they still flutter, but a wee bit less fluttering when you're practicing mindfulness to slow down the thoughts popping up. So it's similar to the monkey mind, like the monkey jumping between the trees. So they do really learn about that on the course as well, about teaching kids about the monkey mind. Yeah.
Okay. I love that. When you mentioned part of the course was talking about compassion, you were referring, is this correct? Were you referring to compassion for ourselves and our thought
Yeah,
process?
yeah. So for
Okay.
compassion for ourselves, a lot of the course, there was different practices, like self-practice, that were online for the teachers who were training, and within the course as well. So we had mindfulness meditation sets, and in the course there was different topics, and kindness, being a friend to yourself, to teach kids to be a friend to themselves and to talk to themselves like they're talking to a friend, and teaching them compassion for themselves and others. So a lot of kids, they've maybe have a strong inner critic, or are feeling anxious and stressed. So the mindfulness techniques is teaching kids that it's okay to have different thoughts that come into your mind, but to try and not feed the inner critic, like self-doubt and doubting yourself. Instead, when the inner critic pops up, to think of if your friend or someone in your family was to say that about themselves, how would you respond? And to train the mind to talk to themselves how they would respond to someone they love instead.
I love that so much. I feel like with our sensitive, highly sensitive kiddos or neurodiverse kiddos, it's so easy for our butterfly minds to take off and make all of these connections. And sometimes with the overactive mind, we can oftentimes fill in the gap if people don't say things, but they may make an expression or a face. Our mind
Yeah,
so often wants to fill in the gap of what they're thinking or saying. And that can so quickly translate to the inner critics inside of us. So I love what
yeah,
you're doing.
definitely. Thank you. It works
What?
for adults as well, because a lot of adults will they've got very strong inner critic, and it's a lifelong practice to. It's good to teach kids it because then they'll grow into adults and they'll have it in the back of their minds. But even starting as an adult to have that at the back of your mind whenever you have a self-critical thought pop up.
Yeah, that's beautiful. As far as starting mindfulness with our kids, do you have any tips of what does it look like, or what would be some basics that we could learn or start?
A starting point would be teaching them what mindfulness is, because they might have heard of it but not really, or heard of yoga but never heard of mindfulness before. And so it's explaining it's a way to train your monkey mind, or train your mind to focus on what you're doing in each moment. So it can be focusing on an activity, like if you're eating your tea or playing an activity, that mindfulness is bringing your full attention and awareness to whatever you're doing. And when different thoughts come into your mind, you can notice the thoughts, but not try not to dwell on the thoughts and just let them pass and bring your attention back to the activity. So it's a brain training practice to bring your mind back into the moment. And there's different ways that parents can help children with it. You can do mindful breathing. Some kids like that internal with the breath, and other kids it makes them feel more anxious or stressed focusing on the breath. So it does depend on each individual child. One that's quite handy for the breath is, no, this won't be on video, but a hand breathing, which is so when you have your hand open. I'm trying to think if you start with your hand open or closed. I think it's your hand open, and breathing in with your hand open, and then breathing out with it closed, and then breathing in with your hand open. And you can do it either way. You can start with your hand closed and then breathe in to open, vice versa. It depends on the person how they feel. Some people feel comfortable doing it, starting with their hand closed or the hand open, but taking three to five breaths with your hand open and closing as you breathe is a nice visual and tactile breathing activity. That's not, you are noticing your breath, but it's not a fully in all body sensation, that you've got a movement practice as well. So I know that some children they'll moving a lot, so that doing their one hand or both hands, even if they're not concentrating on their breath, even just like opening and closing their hands, that's bringing their attention to the movement, is a nice activity to introduce to any age of kid or child.
Yeah, I love that. I was going to ask you, we recently this weekend my husband and I took our kids to a mindful class at a Buddhist center here in Colorado, and it was really fun because they asked us to count our breaths. We were doing meditation as a big group in a
Yeah.
meditation hall. It was really cool. And they asked us to count our breaths. And then they went around and asked everybody how many breaths they had. And there were a lot of people that said 30 or 32. And my husband said, I had 72 breaths. And then the person conducting it said, the lower the number, the better it is when you're practicing meditation, because you want to have
Yeah.
the deep, long breaths. And I was thinking about that because my daughter said she had 72, but I think she said she lost count and she just guessed a number. But it would definitely be like her to be in the 70s because she moves very quickly. So do you have any, when we're working on our breath, even as a grown-up, I was just thinking about that. This is a little off course of what we were talking about. But I think my husband and I are shallow breathers. Like I think we
Hmm.
bring breathe in our chest. I've heard diaphragmic breathing. Is there anything that
Yeah,
we
belly,
need to
yeah,
know?
diaphragm. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, if you breathe from your chest, you're more likely to have like faster breathing or more breaths within a minute. But if you have your
Mm-hmm.
full breath from your belly upwards, it slows it down. So if you can have your one hand on your belly and then taking a deep breath in, and noticing your hands moving and your belly expanding. And then when it reaches the top, breathing out until the air is fully expelled. And then breathing in again, slowly noticing your belly expanding. And then again, breathing out. And you can continue doing that with one hand on your belly, and you can move to putting the other hand on your side, so your lowest rib area, and then take the breath in again, and you can feel your belly and in your side, and then slowly exhale, and your side falls, belly falls. And in the last section, is putting your hand on your chest and the other hand still on your belly, and taking a slow inhale, and you can feel the belly, your side, and then your chest lift, and then slowly exhale, and your chest falls, side falls, belly falls. You repeat doing that. Your breaths will. You might notice now your breath might feel a bit slower. So that's practice. You can do it anytime if it does feel like you're in a situation that's feeling stressed, or you just notice your breathing's just really quick. Just taking a few moments to put one hand on your belly, or you can put one hand on your belly and your chest, and just see if you can notice your breath being from your belly upwards. And
Okay. That's really helpful because I don't think the breath gets to our belly for my husband and I. And that really makes sense with how our children are when we ask them to do breaths when they're having a moment. So I'm going to try teaching my kids that my kids are almost 7 and almost 10. So I feel like that's
yeah,
something they can definitely practice and try.
yeah,
Yeah. I
yeah.
love that.
Hopefully.
Because
There's
even
also, I've not got it next to me. I usually have it here, but it's in a bag somewhere. It's called a breathing ball. Have you seen them before? Or a
oh,
Hoberman's sphere. It's like a colourful ball, and it's almost like kinetic, like the sticks, but it's all connected in a ball. And when it's closed, it's squished up. And then you open it up and ask them to take a deep breath in as the ball expands, and then breathe out as the ball closes back in. And taking a few breaths like that can help slow down the
yes.
breathing. The same with
Yes.
your hand as well, the same action, but with a breathing ball. You can get them online in a lot of different places, but they're always popular tools whenever I take it to do workshops or school visits. The kids always love the breathing ball, and yeah, makes them feel relaxed.
I love that. I'm going to use ours because they even have those little balls that expand and you can contract them. They sell them at Target here in the States. I bought one recently. My kiddos love it. And so that would be a great tool to see it.
Yeah, it's nice
Um,
visual for what's happening in their body as well, with your lungs with the ball opening and closing.
yeah. Does it get easier to notice to build using your diaphragm and breathing into your belly more as you do it?
Yeah,
Okay.
the more often you do it, you then realize when you're not doing it, you're like, oh, you almost feel. Do you ever feel like out of breath when you're stressed? That you feel like almost like not hyperventilating, but you just feel like there's not any space to breathe. Do practice the belly breathing over time, you'll notice that when your breath changes, it would be quite hard to do belly breathing all the time, but it does. Yeah, being conscious doing it will help you at times in your subconscious. You will do it at sometimes, but you probably just don't realize. Like when you're relaxed, you're probably belly breathing, but you won't be consciously paying attention to your breath. So when you notice
Mm-hmm.
it more, it'll
Yeah.
start to calm you, slow down your breathing.
That's good to know. And I think with a lot of the kids who are neurodiverse, sometimes it can come with a core weakness. So a lot of the kiddos go to OT and PT for the core. Does that affect our breathing too?
The core weakness.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Not so. I don't know that much about for the kids for the core, but I know that even for mums, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
the exercises postpartum are based on breathing and in developing that core strength. I went to
Oh.
Pilates after postpartum Pilates, and a lot of it was based on posture, your core and breathing combined. Because if you've not got a strong core, it affects your back, and then you might not feel the connection between your core as well. If you've had, it depend can be either type of birth, depending if you've got any separation, then you might not be able to feel very much. So yeah, building and then you wouldn't realize the connection between your breath as well as your belly breathing. So it does
Oh, wow.
all connects.
That makes so much sense because conscious breathing is when you're having the moments postpartum. That makes so much sense. Or even like when I have big kids and needing to have moments of breath, if you're not strong in the core and not able to get there, then that can make it so much harder to
Yeah,
calm your body and stay connected and
yeah.
reground.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and a lot of times that
Yeah.
kids and adults will be like tensing your stomach as well. Beginning of the yoga classes usually start with a breath awareness, and before they do the breath awareness, I ask people to close their eyes or lower their gaze and notice where they can feel tense in their body. Because a lot of time, when you're just sitting down, you might be unconsciously holding your belly in and not fully relaxing your belly. So I would invite them to relax your belly, relax your shoulders, your jaw, and your forehead, because those are points that a lot of the time don't realize that your shoulders might feel really tense and it's just relaxing them down. Or if you're constantly holding your stomach in, just letting it relax. And your jaw as well, if you're tensing it. It's just a thing that just when you're stressed, just carrying, it's like a physical reaction that you're carrying that stress, and even just relaxing those different points in your body can help you feel more present and
Yeah.
relaxed.
Is that something that you can teach kids too? I feel like I've heard even from the dentist that my daughter, she's super sensitive and going through a super sensitive moment and she's been grinding in her
Oh
teeth.
yeah,
Yep. Or if they're having a
yeah,
moment, I can hear them go in with the teeth or I see the hands clenched sometimes
yeah,
lately.
yeah. So even just asking her, 'cause it might even be that she doesn't realize that she's like grinding her teeth. It might just be an
Yep.
unconscious coping
Yep. Yep.
strategy. So you could even ask her just to, if she's in a moment that she's not like fully heightened, or it's best to
Yeah.
try the mindfulness techniques when children are calm, because then they learn it when they're calm, and then over time they can then use them when they are dysregulated. So when she's calm, you can try a short mindfulness activity. So you could just ask her to sit down and to, she can be just sitting comfortably, and then ask her to notice how she's feeling in her body, and ask her just to see if there's anywhere that feels tight, and she might be like this all stiff, and then and
Yep.
then you say, oh, just, where it's tight, she might, oh, like just naturally relax, and then you can prompt by saying, are you holding your stomach in, are you holding your tummy in, and if you are, see if you can relax your tummy, and then can relax your hands, your shoulders. Do they feel like they're close to your ears, or do they feel uncomfortable? And you can ask her to wiggle her shoulders and just relax her shoulders down, and then move into the jaw. So you can say relax your tongue, because your tongue is not something that you think about relaxing either. So you could say like your tongue rest and your jaw, and then your forehead, and then have a neutral. Her face will just be fully relaxed, and then you can ask her to take a few deep breaths. So you could ask her just to take a deep breath in and counting to four on the deep breath in, and then slowly exhale, and she could exhale for eight, or any number that depends on each individual person. Some people can hold their breath in for longer and out for longer, so you can as long as the exhale's longer than the inhale, then that helps to relax.
I love that. I'm going to try that with her when she's going to bed after we read our story. We've been doing
Yeah,
like guided meditations and type of grounding and releasing energy from the day. So I
yeah,
feel like
that's
that would
good.
be a really great one to incorporate into that moment for her.
Yeah. Does she like meditations? Does she try meditations, like guided meditations, like audios before? Does she like listening to them?
I haven't done the guided ones. I've just done the ones that I do with her. Sometimes I do based off of what she loves. I'll do like a princess one with castles and things. Or
Yeah.
lately, we've been having a lot of nightmares. I started doing like an energy work one where we're bringing our energy from the core of the earth up to her
Mm-hmm.
and spreading it throughout her body, and then sending any negative feelings or big feelings from the day into the earth.
Well,
So
that
we've been
sounds
trying to
good.
do that.
Yeah. That sounds like a relaxing bedtime routine.
It has. This last weekend, it didn't really help.
I've got
But
a
last week
short
it
kids
did.
meditation. I think it's only maybe 4 minutes or 4.5 minutes. It's on, I can send you the link. It's on my website if anyone's interested. But it's a free kids yoga nidra meditation, and it's a jungle. I recorded it a while ago. I think it's a jungle, a forest. It's a forest meditation. So yoga nidra it's not mindfulness. It's separate to mindfulness, but you are still being present. But there's different aspects to yoga nidra. It takes you through different levels of awareness through your body. So it's similar to Reiki, how it goes through different levels of your body. Yoga nidra, there's for the kids ones because it's quite the one I've got. I wrote the script and created it myself. It's quite short, but then there's varying lessons for kids and adults, and it's basically the end result is to help you fully deeply relax because you're relaxing all levels of your body from you're relaxing your physical body, your mental and emotional body, and yeah, physical, mental, emotional, yeah, all different layers of the
I
body to
love
help
it. That's
and
great. I
relax.
will check that on your website, and we'll put your website in the show notes too, because Yoga Nitra, you had mentioned that. That's really cool
Yeah,
to try. So moms can do it as well, or parents can do it
yeah,
as well.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. It's a good
Okay.
practice for usually for adults around 20 to 30 minutes is a good beginner yoga nidra. That has there's different elements to an adult's one. There's like counting and visualizations, breath awareness. It is really it's my favorite type of meditation. I like do like mindfulness and do more. I do more everyday mindfulness, like practical mindfulness, and I do some mindfulness breathing. But if I want to have a longer duration of relaxation, yoga nidra is my go to. It's said that around 20 to 30 minutes of yoga nidra is as restorative as 2 hours of sleep. So you don't fully sleep, but
Oh.
your body goes into the state of kind of like when you're about to fall asleep or when you're just waking up, that kind of hazy feeling. During yoga nidra, you're in that state. So it restores your body and your energy. So it's very good for mums who don't have
Yeah.
much sleep or just, yeah, feeling a bit stressed and just need some relaxation time.
What's your favorite thing to tell parents when they're starting out on a mindfulness journey, or what's your favorite tip or ideas? Where do you like to start
Um,
or share?
but to not feel overwhelmed or to feel that you need a lot of time to practice mindfulness. That it can be brought into everyday moments and you don't have to carve out a long amount of time every day, like an every day to practice. It can be brought into activities like if you're like washing dishes or doing housework, you can bring your full attention to the process of washing the dishes, like watching the water, using the sponge or the brush, or even stacking the dishwasher, just bringing your full attention to that activity. And when your
Okay.
mind jumps from different thoughts, just try to not delve into the thoughts and bring your attention back to the activity. And that'll help you. If your thoughts thinking, oh, I need to go and collect the kids, or I need to hoover, or I need to do loads of different things. Just focusing on that one activity can help your mind slow down, and you can practice that at any point.
Yeah, I love that. We think we need 2 hours of self care to
Yeah,
recharge. Washing the dishes, it's funny you bring that one up because that is probably one of my moments where I really just focus on what I'm doing. And when I walk away from washing the dishes, I feel like recharged in that moment.
yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah.
that's
It's
one
a
of my
good way to
favorites.
start.
Yeah, it's so hard. I don't know about overseas if it's the same in the US. I feel like it's all over Instagram. It's like how to use the most of your day, multitasking, and there's always tips and pointers about doing 2 or 3 things at once. And
Yeah,
so I love what you're saying. I feel like our culture tends to go the opposite.
yeah. It's the same in the UK as well. You're trying to fit as much into short amounts of time, which is does it is useful in some aspects if you're wanting to completely try and get a lot. If you're working, you want to focus and doing like 20 minutes, and then have the Pomodoro, I think it's called. Pomodoro. I'm not pronouncing it. The Pomodoro technique or method, and I find that
Oh,
quite
yeah.
useful. And it's 20 minutes of focused activity, and then having, I think it's a 5 or 10 minute as a break, and then continue doing that. That's a good productivity hack for working. But yeah, I do agree that it can be hard when there's so many different things to that you're consuming as well, because a lot of times it's hard to know. It's hard for mums especially to connect to themselves, because they're thinking about their kids, or when you're not thinking about your kids, and maybe go on social media and then scroll, and then you're consuming what everyone else is saying, and then maybe entering into comparison, and then it just ends up in a big loop, and you never actually have time to, or create time to connect to your own intuition and own self.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's so important. And it's so important we're modeling it for our kids because if society is at this point from where it was when you and I were little, I don't know, I was little in like the 80s, early 90s, I can't imagine where it's going to be in 20 years or 30 years from now.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's quite scary to think what, or even 10 years, how things are going to
Yeah.
be be different for kids. Yeah, I hope that there
Yeah.
are more, because mindfulness and yoga are so well known about now, and so many different people try it, that children, more children are interested in doing it, and if they see their parents practicing mindfulness or going to yoga, they'll then copy them, or be interested and
Yeah.
ask questions about what it is, to help their own
Yeah.
well-being. I'm not sure in the US, do they have, I know I see, because I follow people on Instagram, they have like yoga classes and things, but do they have, the schools do they have like mindfulness or yoga things in school?
I think that yoga is a big piece. So we switched our kids over to a charter school, so it's not the regular school, and its focus is social and emotional. So they do
Mhm.
a lot of mindfulness. There's even like little affirmations that my kids came home with recently in
Oh,
first grade and third grade. It's
yeah,
been really cool.
that is good. That, yeah,
Yeah.
it'd be amazing if that was in all schools. That there, I know there's social emotional learning is within schools, but it'd be good if it was like an allocated amount of time every
Everywhere.
day, that was like for 15 minutes every day we're going to do some
Yep.
mindfulness activities or
Yep.
well-being activities. Make a
I
difference.
did, Yeah, I think there's this push in American culture to get your kids into an activity. So they have an activity like every day. And so I try to choose one or maybe two at the most activities
Hmm.
for my kids. So they do have the down days where they can just play and get
Yeah,
into, for my son, it's like he gets in the flow state playing with his Legos, or my daughter gets in the flow state with coloring and writing. And so, yeah, giving them that downtime.
yeah,
But I think even if parents are not able to cut back on activities or they're busy in their lives, I think for us recently, I've been thinking about like when we're eating, I've been telling
Hmm.
the kids, let's slow down, let's look at our plate, let's say, have a moment of gratitude. Thank you to this food for nourishing my body and giving me the energy that I need for myself. So
Yeah.
thank you. So just even just having that little moment to maybe think about like food and what it does for our bodies and
Yeah,
just
mindful
trying to
eating
incorporate
is
that.
quite a good practice for kids, even just to notice the with the sense bringing the senses into mindful eating at meal times is good as well. Like noticing what's on your plate and it's different colors, and then when you're it smells with the food and different tastes and textures as well. Is when you're chewing, notice what is it something smooth or spicy, like different yeah different senses within meal times can help slow down. So, sometimes it can be if you've got something to go to after, or you've just had a busy day, it can be easy just to like, we'll just sit down and just eat quickly, but just to just slow down at dinner time to just fully, even as a family, just if you've all got, because I know that some families have all the same meal and other families might have different meals, but even if they're different meals, you can still practice a mindfulness activity together, just noticing what's on your plate and yeah, what colors can you see? What what smells? How does the food taste? Is it salty, sweet, smooth,
That's
spicy,
beautiful.
cold? Yeah.
Yeah, that's, and you know what's really interesting is a lot of the things that you're doing and the tools that you're using go along with feeding therapy. It's what the occupational therapists and the speech therapists do with kids that are more picky eaters. So, with your
Yeah.
tiny one, when you're doing that, because I think
Mm-hmm.
you have a little guy.
Yeah.
So, when you're doing all of those things, I did that when my kids were your kiddo's age. And
Yeah.
I still do that. Sometimes we do for fun. If I'm like, is your body ready for a challenge? Let's close your eyes and I'm going to put one thing on your plate in your mouth and I want you to tell me which one it is. And so my kids will do
Yeah.
that to each other now, like playing
Oh,
around when we're eating.
yeah. I
So
used when I worked with
yeah.
kids in a youth centre, we used to do taste tests with them, and they always loved taste tests. We used to do with different crusts or different fruits, and we'd cover the bowl, and they had to taste it, and then it was like a mindfulness activity, but it was they had to
Yeah.
guess the flavor, so it helped them slow down. And even if they didn't like it, at least like, you've tasted it, and you can then recognize the different flavors. And yeah, it's interesting to know because I've not had any experience working with occupational therapists like directly, so it's interesting that there's that overlap.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really
Yeah,
cool. A lot of, I'm realizing like so many of the strategies that OTs teach our kids when they're trying to help regulate the systems,
yeah,
so many of it, so much of it overlaps with mindfulness.
yeah,
And even some pieces of spirituality come in with the mindful, all these pieces are all intertwined. And you see so much
yeah,
growth in these highly sensitive kids or neurodiverse kids or just really gifted and talented kids coming in.
yeah,
Yeah, so it's really fun to see all that growth. I was going to say, I always encourage my husband to slow down when he's eating. And he's the quickest eater in our family, which he
yeah,
kept doing when our kids were little and we'd be at a restaurant. He would eat really fast and then he would walk our kids around while I ate and finished eating as the mom. But
yeah,
I still encourage him to slow down, focus on his food, practice all these things we've been talking about. So
yeah.
yesterday he was telling me, Carrie, I am the slowest eater at work.
Oh
And I was
wow.
like, yeah, I guess in the corporate world, it's eat, right? Inhale your
Yeah,
lunch and then get back to work.
yeah. That's
So
good
just think
though.
of where
Sometimes
they,
slow down a
yeah,
wee bit.
it's hard. So I'm like,
Yeah.
think of where everybody would be creatively if we all sat down to eat
Hmm.
and decompressed for a minute. I know there's a lot of busy moms. I'll say something like, when I sit down and have a moment and eat, and I'll do that a lot even when I'm eating by myself at home as a working mom at home. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of moms that are like, you sit down and eat? I'm like, yes, you have to do that for your body. Even if
Yeah.
you're by yourself, like just sit down and eat.
Yeah. And I think just from having like the family, if you are with your family as well, it's good to try and have that as like quality time as well. I've been
Yeah.
trying to model that with maybe boy will just always sit down and eat together. To yeah, to the I think it's almost like a social thing as well that they're learning. That's what they do when it's a that eating can be a social yeah social skill
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway today for me is you don't need to have 2 hours. You can do your mindfulness as you go. Is there any last thoughts you have with the mindful pieces for busy families?
I'd say those are the main tips. I'll see if I'll have a think if there's anything else. There's the kindness element as well. That is, if you do notice that you get frustrated, I know that sometimes when you're starting something like a meditation or mindfulness practice, it can almost be like a challenge. It could be good to get started, but if it starts feeling a bit difficult or maybe not got have the time to do it, it can then turn into oh I should be doing it, or it becomes like a something that you should be doing rather than something that you want to do or try and practice. So just remembering to be kind to yourself and remember that it's an ongoing journey. It's not something that you just start and you think oh I need to do this for 10 minutes every day. That you can every day is different and you can do a 1 minute one day, do half an hour the next day. It just yeah depends, and be kind to yourself and try not to put any pressure on yourself to do everything.
Yes, I love that. I remember when I was little, my grandmother, she was very spiritual. And I remember her speaking to herself, like, okay, Yolanda, you got this. You can figure this out. Like, you can do this. So I love the idea of modeling. Okay, Carrie, you can figure out this computer program. You can build
Yeah,
this website. Try again. Like, modeling that in front of our kids when we're trying hard things.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I recently was saying I would like to talk to myself or to see myself the way that my husband or my mom see me because they
Hmm.
see me in such a different version compared to what I see myself like or how I speak to myself.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's a lot of people. Yeah, I do that sometimes as well. I'm like, why am I being mean to myself? I don't. It's not like it's not until you realize that you're putting so much pressure on yourself that when you stop, you're like, I wouldn't be putting all this pressure on somebody else or telling them that you should be doing this or you're not doing enough. That yeah,
Yeah,
it is challenging to try and switch it back over to yourself, but it's worth doing
it's worth
it.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, even if it's little by little. I think after
Hmm.
this, I'm going to go write a sticky note and put it on my mirror for
Yeah.
myself, like words of motivation for myself. And then for my kids, I'll do it too. Or I might have them write their own and put it on the mirror.
Yeah. I think affirmations are good, but you were saying that your kids got affirmations from school. I recently made a digital kids gratitude
Ooh.
journal. It's 365 days, but it's not got dates in it, so they can start and do it anytime. And each day it's
Lovely.
they can write or draw or both three things of people or places that they're grateful for. And at the beginning of the journal, there's a breathing exercise. It's called infinity breathing or lazy eight breathing. It's basically the infinity symbol, and they trace their finger round it, breathing in and out. And then it's got the gratitude practice. And at the end of each week, there's different affirmations as well to affirm the gratitude. And I think affirmations are good for all ages to remind yourself of yeah yeah how you are as a person to yeah that
Yeah.
other people probably say oh Carrie's so confident or Carrie, and then just telling yourself that I am confident, I am enough, and yeah.
Yes, I love that. I'm going to go check that out. So, your gratitude journal for the kids, the download, is that on your website as well?
Yeah, so the
Okay.
meditation's free, and then the journal is I don't know what is in dollars, but it's, yeah,
Sure.
£9.99. Yeah,
Okay. How cool. That's a great idea. So, yeah, we have your website and then we'll include that in the show notes. And there
yeah.
was something else I was going to say with it, but I don't remember right now. So, thanks so much, Natasha, for spending your time with us and
Thank
sharing all these
you.
mindful ideas so we
It's,
can walk out as mindful people.
yeah, it's nice chatting to you. I forgot to mention as well. Yeah, I've got two Instagram pages. One page is my butterfly mind, but the other Instagram page and also an author as well. So I've got two kids mindfulness books, and one is mindful living for parents. So they're all mindfulness through storytelling to help reach more children and families with mindfulness. The kids ones are introductions to mindfulness, like mindfulness of the senses and activity pages on social and emotional activities. And then the parents is mindfulness within everyday life through stories and different reflection activities. And
Beautiful. What were the name of your books? That's amazing. I
my
love that
first
idea.
book is called Slow Down Amaya, and that's
Slow.
Maya's a butterfly who's got ADHD and she's very excitable and she learns how to slow down with mindfulness. And the
Yeah.
second book, she meets Sammy, who's a sunflower and he's autistic. So they become friends. And then the second book is Slow Down Sammy. So it's focused on Sammy and how mindfulness can help with worries and anxiety. So Maya teaches him the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding technique to help let go of worries.
Beautiful. I love that my kids are, since we have late start today, my kids are both downstairs watching Stillwater. I don't know if you've
Oh, I've
ever
never heard of
heard of
that before.
Stillwater. So there's a
No.
book series. It's a panda named Stillwater. I can't remember what the name of this series are, but there's several. There's 3 or 4 books that talk about mindfulness practices, and then Apple TV made it into a little TV series, and it's called Stillwater is the
Oh,
name
I'll
of the
need to look it
panda, and
up.
he's mindful. So it might be really cool for with your son.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll
Peaceful
definitely.
Piggy is another one of our favorite ones too.
Oh, I'll need to look those up. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Natasha.
You too. Thank you.
Well, that's a wrap. Thanks so much for tuning in, Changemakers. This is Carrie. And if you haven't done a review for us, 5 stars and a little few words about what you've enjoyed in our podcast episodes, we would really appreciate it. If you guys would like to ever message me, I would love any questions you have or any feedback at info@hearttoheartlife.com. We also have a brand new website, which we're super excited to share. It's hearttoheartlife.com. Thanks so much for tuning in, and happy life, happy times, Changemaker families. Please remember that the information shared on this podcast is educational in nature and does not constitute licensed mental health advice. If you need such advice, you should speak with a licensed professional about your unique situation. Thanks so much, happy listeners.